films like We Own the Night. In his latest film, Reservation Road, he plays a grieving father trying to catch the hit-and-run driver who kills his son. But the story is a little more complicated than that. I had a chance to talk to the stars of Reservation Road. After attending their son's recital, the Lerner family stops to get gas along Reservation Road. That decision changes their lives forever. Dwight Arno, on his way back from the Red Sox game with his son, gets distracted, ends up hitting the boy, killing him. He panics and speeds away. Reservation Road is about what happens next. Two fathers, both haunted by the tragedy, must come to grips with the event. Phoenix told me the complexity of the script is what attracted him to the project.
Why I was interested in this film is I quite like the idea, and I feel like it's kind of rare in film, in which we see the effects of one event and how it affects so many different people and their reactions to it. And it's rare that we see both sides of the story.
Let me show you this. I've been looking into some other possibilities.
What sort of possibilities?
Of how to find this guy.
I thought that was why we got lawyers.
Oscar winner Jennifer Connelly plays Joaquin's wife, Grace. Being a mother of two herself, Connelly told me she sobbed when she read the script.
I read the script, and I read the script, and I put it down, and I went into the other room where my husband was sitting, and I had tears streaming down my face. I just read it. It was a beautiful script, and yeah, it grabbed me emotionally, and of course, then when I subsequently read the book, but also I found it interesting and provocative, you know, the way it was looking at this man who becomes obsessed with the idea of revenge and ultimately has to question the validity of that choice, of sort of like whether or not that is, you know, works as a solution to suffering and loss, which of course, you know, it doesn't.
Police have given up on this case, haven't they? No, not completely. The police are working on a few things, and I'm hopeful that they'll have a break in the case.
Mark Ruffalo is excellent as a father and lawyer consumed with guilt, and you never know what he's going to do about it. To make matters worse for him, Joaquin's character hires him to find his son's killer. Phoenix was determined to meet with members of MAD and talk to those who had suffered this sort of pain.
It's easy to generalize in film and say, someone's angry in the scene, or somebody's crying in the scene, or somebody's laughing, but you want to try and find specifically why. You don't just want to kind of put out a general emotion. And so to be able to meet with the victims' families and to actually hear detailed accounts of their experience and to watch them, because you know, I, of course, had read a lot prior to meeting with them, but to have the opportunity to actually sit down and hear their stories firsthand, I think was really effective in helping us to define some of the details of the conflict and the struggle that the characters were going through.
Sometimes things happen that are out of your control, and those are the times when you just really got to stand up and be a man.
You know, you were saying it looks like it's a pretty good movie. It opens on Friday. It is intense, and I think the director does a nice job. You never know what's going to happen. Mark Ruffalo obviously is the hit-and-run driver, and he's just tormented by the guilt, so you don't know, will he end up turning himself in? And they keep you guessing throughout the movie, which is nice.
I saw Joaquin on Conan O'Brien last week. He seems pretty intense.
Well,
in general.
He is a very intense. I think he's a phenomenal actor.
He is, yeah.
In fact, this isn't my favorite movie that he's done. I really thought that he should have won something for Walk the Line, even though Forrest Whitaker, obviously, you can't really argue with that decision. He is intense, and I was telling you during the commercial break, one of the reporters who I think he went about 3 or 4 interviews before I did, He went in there, he's this guy from New York, and asked Joaquin about his brother River, who, if you remember, his brother River died of a drug overdose, and Joaquin was, I think, with him at the time, made the 911 call. It's a subject you obviously, as a reporter, wouldn't even think to bring up, and this reporter did. And apparently Joaquin was so angry that he followed the reporter out into the hallway. I was interviewing Mira Sorvino at the time, but my friend was sitting right there next up to do the interview, and he just went nuts on this reporter and said, "You better edit that out. You know, that was a terrible question to ask." And the reporter said, "You know, I'm sorry." I'm guessing he might have asked because of the whole grief and maybe losing a loved one issue. But other than that, I can't imagine why he'd bring it up. And Joaquin was just, I guess, pacing and smoking and just really angry.
Wow.
But when I got to him, he couldn't have been nicer. But he is serious. He takes this crap very seriously.
Well, he's good at what he does.
Very good.
Yeah.
Reservation Road opens again on Friday. All right, 7